Well. It must be a Wednesday, yeah, because I am looking at the original Coach Carter somewhere in the state of Tennessee, out there where Elvis used to. No, that's Memphis. Yeah. Well, Memphis, Tennessee, where
This is Memphis.
Elvis used to hang
Yeah,
out. Have there been an Elvis
they
sighting?
say
Have you seen Elvis since
not
you've been in
not
Tennessee?
not where I am. He won't be coming over this way, I don't think. If he does, it'll be a short visit.
Uh, well, this is Youth Central Sports, where we come to you every Wednesday at 11 p.m. with the original Coach Carter, where we talk about sports and a lot of other things. Because Vince is saying that sports is more than just a game. Yes, it
More than
is.
just
True that. So, how you been? How you been?
real good, real good. Getting close to school start, so everybody's excited. Um, Getting ready to have those brilliant student athletes back in the classroom for another round of education for another 185 days.
Well, I did hear, even though I think it happened yesterday, we can say hi to Sonia. Sonia, you still got to come on the show. Uh, uh, I haven't talked with you in a while. And but anyway, hi Sonia, how you doing? Um, Wanted to ask you. Well, I'm excited that your son is signing up for his 22nd year. How cool is
Yeah,
that?
came to an agreement. He's returning to Atlanta for his 22nd season. We put him as the oldest long-term player. I believe that if he plays one step on the court in January. I'm excited for him. I still think he'll end up in Toronto, if only for one day, to complete his career. Yeah, so he'll probably retire out of Canada, which I think would be very fitting from where he started into where he ends. But very excited for him. I'm happy for him. I'm excited to see him uh, play out his dream.
Right. Well, it's funny because there's certain things that money can't buy. Certain things that just is when it comes to the intangibles. And I tease you all the time about when your son was in the crib and uh, feeding him a bottle and changing his diapers. He had no idea that one day he would be a Hall of Famer, even though,
Now,
uh,
never thought
and
that.
I'm saying that he's going to be a Hall of Famer because he's going to be a Hall of Famer. And I've been saying it
That-
for a while.
Yeah, I've gotten on that bandwagon now myself. I do think he'll be a Hall of Famer. And that's quite an accomplishment, especially remembering him sitting in front of the TV when he was around 5 or a little less and pointing at it and saying, couldn't even say basketball, just said, I want to do that. We were watching the basketball. He said, I want to do that. And that was, we all laughed and said, yes, sure you can. Going back to when he was first born, first day he came home, I put him in the crib. My brother and I were standing on each side, tossing the Nerf basketball back and forth. Who would have imagined that that would become his favorite sport, and it would go on to take him to the success that he's had? That's very humbling.
Real quick, I want to say hi to Juan Karras. It was great seeing you about a week or so ago. I talked with David Washington earlier today. We talked about you. He told me to tell you hi, and it was great seeing you. And also, I hope to have you on this show. I've already talked with Grant Campbell about coming on the show. Grant Campbell, which I know you don't know, but he in the circle of David Washington and Juan Karras and all those guys and Grant Campbell, they've been involved in martial arts forever, and in that circle are some great people and some true martial artists. And so I would like to have Grant Campbell and Karras come on to talk about like the sport and all of that has transitioned from how it was 30 years ago to what it is now. And I certainly want them to address the mixed martial arts because I won't get into that, but I want them to address that for somebody who is qualified to speak on it, not from the standpoint, but just helping people to understand. Vince, there's nothing new under the sun, brother. There's nothing new under the sun. There's always a way of revamping it to market it, but there's nothing new under the sun, and I just leave it at that for that show. But anyway, I just want to throw that out. I did ask Grant Campbell, who is a great martial artist, and you would love talking to him. He's very humble. He's a great guy, very knowledgeable. All those guys are walking encyclopedia of martial arts. And I was trying to see. Oh, and hi, Karen. Karen is an old friend of mine. We used to work together when I was with Orange TV, and she was part of the TAP with Team Pregnancy Prevention, and she has a knack and a spirit of working with our young people, helping them. And it takes a special person like her to be able to do the things that she used to do. So, hi, Karen, as well. We were talking about your son, Vince, but one of the things that I'm hoping that we can do at some point in time, because I would love to talk to your brother, because I know somehow, some way, that transition to your son. I don't know how, but I know some of that had to transition from your brother to your son. And because a lot of people don't know about your brother and who he was, and he was one of the top recruits at the time in the state of Florida. He was one of the top recruits by far. His team actually went on to play for the state championship. I think they lost to, I think it was Boone. No, not Boone. May have been like Boone, but it was a team from Orlando, I think it was.
Could have been Boone against Rickman.
Yeah, it was whoever they lost to in the state championship. It was a team from Orlando. That part I do remember. And and if you were to put your brother and Vince side by side, they was kind of like the same height, the same makeup, the same size.
There's a lot of similarity between the two of them in terms of their physical makeup.
Right,
Some of their basketball styles are very similar,
right,
but they're actually two different kind of players, but they have an awful lot of similarity.
right. And that's what I'm trying to say. Something I know transitioned from your brother to your son. I mean, it's just because I mean your brother was a great basketball player, and I just know somehow, some way, and I would love to have that conversation with him. I'm down to have that conversation with him, because I know he
Yeah,
don't know that I remember a lot of the things that I remember back, and I won't even tell you what year it was, but yeah, and I remember him, and I couldn't wait to see him at Marquette because at the time, Marquette had the cool uniforms with the jersey on the outside. And so when I heard he was going to Marquette with Al McGuire, because they had the coolest uniforms in all of college. And I was like, oh man, Oliver going to go with the cool uniforms. And sure enough, the first time I saw them on TV, I saw him with the cool uniform.
yeah, it's an interesting. I think I can say now that our family is a very athletic family. My dad played, my mom played sports. My brother and I, and most of our children, to some degree, have played sports. So we're a sports family. My dad was a little picky and choosy about what mom was a sportsman. So and even my grandparents were sports. So we grew up in the house as a sports family. And so I do think a lot of attention was paid to trying to play sports and trying to play it well and copying from each other. My youngest son, he was a darn good basketball player, but he also played football. And I played a little basketball, football, and baseball. And so, they kind of took a little bit out the racquetball, tennis, and all of that. And they all kind of do that, but they all end up picking a sport. So we are a sports family. We still to this day love sports and always excited. As I think I've shared with you before, a couple of my daughters were cheerleaders, and they called that a sport. And I had to agree with them um, that it was a sport because they participated. And I had to go watch them cheer. In fact, I had to learn some cheer. Matter of fact, to prove to them that I was actually there. And I can relate to parents who have kids playing sports, especially multiple sports. I can tell you one night I traveled all over Central Florida trying to catch my girls cheering, varsity ball, basketball game. My oldest son was playing, my youngest son was playing a JV game. They were two different places. And I had to go, and my other two girls were at another school cheering. I saw more sports that night that would last me for a lifetime. But it's all about what it is being a sport parent,
Right,
parent of a student athlete. And I look back on it, and it's a fond memory.
right. And I want to, real quick, I want to say hi to, man, Vince. I want to say hi to my junior high coach, Coach Welburn. Um, it was funny because I was thinking about Coach Welburn the other day, but he would he would know because he's old school in the sense of knowing about like Artis Gilmore and Chip Dublin, Phil Carter, and all those guys that played when J, JU went and played against UCLA. Florida State played against UCLA in those times, and the, and the thing is, see, I don't know as Coach Welburn, remember this, but imagine this, Vince. Imagine that here you are, you in junior high school, and at that time, JU was bigger than life. Because Artis Gilmore, Chip Dublin, and all those guys, quite a, I can't think of the other center name, but quite a few of those guys was just bigger than life. I mean, basketball in Jacksonville was huge then. Coach Welburn brought some of those guys to the gym to scrimmage against us. Talk about being intimidated and watching these guys play, and they seemed bigger than life at the time. And the fact that Coach Welburn was able to bring some of those guys in from JU, and I know he would be surprised that I remember that, but I remember it was like yesterday, just because you sitting there and you looking at these guys that you see on TV, and then they walk in the gym and you in awe, like, oh my God, you in like eighth grade and you seeing these guys and they're on the court with you and you scrimmaging against them, and that's just one of those things that you remember for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's quite an impact. And I think sometimes kids today miss that opportunity, but there are so many venues now that they can't get a chance. A lot of kids, which I think is a disadvantage, are having those experiences through video games now. So
Yeah,
personal
I can't,
some of
I
those
can't even, I can't even
don't
relate
relate
to it.
very well to that, but it is it's a little bit different. Yeah,
I
it's
can't
a
even,
lot of
Vince,
make
I can't
themselves
even relate to
available.
the video game and talking about playing basketball. I mean, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy to me. But I don't know.
But a lot of the basketball camps, a lot of these guys do show up and give those kids that one opportunity to interact with them. Some of them don't stay the whole time, but they do. You got several guys who host camps who stay the whole week and interact with kids, which I think is really great. You know, but it's good for them to have that kind of exposure sometimes to kind of put that thing into perspective. And there's nothing like being inspired by your mentor. And so
Right.
that's a great experience. It's not good for everybody. Some people don't care about that. Some people aren't motivated by it. But those that do, that are rather, I think it's a great opportunity because I think it's good to interact on a one. I think those guys, celebrities, however you want movies, actors, whatever. It's always good, in my opinion, to make contact with the public. The people who buy your books, buy your music, come to your games, go to let them see who you are with them. That's a huge plus in my book.
Okay. Well, This is Youth Central Sports, where we come to you every Wednesday right here at www.youthcentralsports.com. We're also live on Facebook, Twitter, and Periscope. We're also live on YouTube, so make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube and hit that like button right there on Facebook. Appreciate it. Vince, we got a lot to talk about. Man, football is here. Football is here.
It has arrived. It has
So
arrived.
America can get back to being normal, I guess. That's what I always say. So, did you watch any of the Hall of Fame?
No, I did not.
Did you watch any of the game that was, what was that, Thursday? Was it last Thursday the game was?
I think I saw maybe 5 or 10 minutes of it. That's about all. Didn't get a chance to really see a lot of that. I think it's just the fever is here. I'm ready for regular season. I've been watching training camp, which I always find interesting for me personally. That's just to watch them kind of go through their beginning processes of getting ready. And I miss a lot of the preseason because I'm ready for regular season ball. It's
Uh,
kind of interesting to watch them as they go through their getting ready to play.
okay. I'm, I'm going to ask you this question, and I never asked you this question, but I'm going to ask this question again, and I'm going to ask if and when we have some guests on, okay? And I would even like to ask those that are watching, and I'm going to ask you this question, Vince. If you had a choice and it came down to it was one or the other, would you want to win a championship or be in the Hall of Fame?
I think the Hall of Fame a it's a legacy award of consistent work that put your work far above on a consistent basis among your peers. Championship you can hit one time and you may not ever win again. It's a heck of an accomplishment. Now, by no means am I making it a smaller of a threat because a championship is a championship. You are a champion for that particular event and time that you won that. But when you go in the Hall of Fame, it's over a period of time of consistently high performance is what you do. So I think I would love both. But if I had to choose one, I think I would want to go into the Hall of Fame.
Okay. All right.
So I
All
think the
right.
Hall of Fame really judges you not based on one event or one season. It's over a consistent high level performance over the length of your career and how efficient you were at that, which to me speaks an awful lot about your character, your tenacity, and your skill level. But again, as I said, I want to win both. I want to be a champion, and I'd like to go in the Hall of Fame. But if I could only choose one, I would take the Hall of Fame.
All right. I think I would take the Hall of Fame as well. Well, without even thinking about it twice, I would choose the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Josh Gordon files for reinstatement. And the reason why I brought this up because we did a show last season on Josh Gordon, and I thought that you made an excellent point because for the people out there who don't know what you do and what you've been involved with for so many years, is that you brought up everything that had nothing to do with football. You spoke from your experience of working with people with addiction, and you gave some very good information on Josh Gordon and people like Josh Gordon because what we see and all we recognize is him on the field. And I think the point that you brought up was that once that last whistle has blown, the parking lot is empty, they turn the lights off at the stadium, he has to go home and deal with himself. And as long as we see him out there playing football, we think that's it. But when you have those addictions, that's a whole nother world. And he has
It,
to
it, it
eventually step into the realm of reality and where he is in his life.
And for some people, while they do what we consider to be very strange behaviors, you look at a professional athlete and you know that his body is his temple. It is very important to his success to play. So why would he abuse that? A lot of times he's not doing it by choice. He's doing it in his to eliminate the pain, to eliminate the confusion. He's running from himself. He's trying to hide from himself. He's trying to numb that pain that sometime in their sport, they have the opportunity to step away from that and just concentrate on the sport. That's the only thing they have to do, to execute. But once he walks away from that, now he's got to deal with himself. He's got to deal with those same demons he was running from. So some of them, alcohol, drugs, or whatever that might be their particular interest. And it's tough. I mean, it has nothing to do with the sport sometimes. It has everything to do with who
Right.
they are and what they're going, and triggers, failures, even successes sometimes bring on co-occurring or reoccurring activities. So it's a tough situation. It's dehumanizing in a sense, but unless you're close to it, you don't recognize that. You don't see that part of it. And then they do. I think as we indicated then, and I say now, we sit on the outside and it looks like, man, this guy's crazy. Why is he doing that? Well, that's the other side of that. Is he's doing it for survival. Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like that's what he's doing, but he's trying to survive, and that's the only way he knows how to do that.
Well,
To the same degree with this depression thing, a lot of athletes are starting to talk about that they suffer from depression, and they've got millions of dollars, they got all of these material things, but they're still suffering from depression and those type of things, anxieties and stuff. It's all triggered by something other than what they're doing.
well, for those who, well, just to say this, I do a show called The Journey 2020 on Mondays at 7 p.m. And this past Monday was a great show. Had a gentleman on that I've been knowing and working with for a very long time, Louis Delgado, and I had Anna Reed, and they came on to talk about the recovery symposium that will be taking place in September. And what that is, Vince, for people who understand it, somebody like Karen Went, who I spoke of earlier, who in that environment like you, who deal with a lot of issues and the problems, that event, which I think is so important. So if you get a chance, please go to the Journey 2020. You may know someone who's dealing with some type of addiction when it comes to alcohol and drugs and so on and so forth. And Louis Delgado spoke so direct on so many of what you're speaking of. He's been counseling and been involved in a former drug addict himself for over, he's been doing this, he said, for over 30 years. And Vince, for him to speak, and he spoke into the truth of the matter and our issues and what we have to do to try to help each other. And there was just so much truth in what he spoke that day. So I encourage a lot of people, please check out the show, The Journey 2020, last Monday. And if you may find out that you may know someone that you can recommend for the recovery symposium that's going to be taking place sometime in September. And Antonio Brown, did you see that brother's feet? He got
No, I did not.
frostbitten some kind of way. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that. No,
Really?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to be okay, but somehow or another, whatever he was involved in, frostbitten on his feet. And
Could
they
have been,
showed his feet.
yeah, could have been
It was not a pretty sight.
cryogenics. Yeah, he might have been involved in cryogenics and didn't properly protect himself. That's one of those puts in this deep temperature, a cold temperature. It helps with recovery, tissue regeneration in the body, and helps. It has some positive aspects to it. A lot of people against, particularly the football players, or people who do a physical exertion in their sport. And at this time of year, I can only imagine, unless he's coming out of Alaska, that's the only place I could see that could have happened. That he could have got a frostbite, but a frostbite is no joke.
Yeah.
Frostbite is a very serious situation.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, remember I was trying to tell you about the show Hard Knocks because the Raiders are on Hard Knocks, and I think it aired for the first time last week, and they were just talking about like they heard Antonio Sons asking about where was you know Rosenberg, the quarterback. And he was saying, "Well, no, we're now with the Raiders, and my quarterback is Carson, whoever the quarterback is for Raiders." And so his son was asking, you know, uh, because he's used to being there with the Steelers. So
Yeah.
it was kind of cute, you know.
You learn a lot. I like to watch training. The NFL training camp. They do a series. They go around a lot of the camps, and they have a day where they spend with each team, and they talk about. And you kind of watch those guys go through the early part of their training camp and stuff. But you learn a lot about the team and team philosophy and how they actually get them play. It gives a better understanding of what I can anticipate to see. And you see all the competition for something. They got 4 quarterbacks in camp, knowing they're only going to keep 2. Um, number of running backs, and just watch them as they whittle it down based on what their needs are and skill levels. So I found that interesting, and it's a very challenging time. Uh, a lot of rookies coming in and what they go through, and they really take you sometime behind the scenes of what it's really like to be in training camp, how intense it is, and the amount of information they've got to obtain, get ready for that first game, and then they're cutting after every preseason game. They're cutting, so they're getting that squad down. So it's a very intense time.
Your Cowboys, Elliott. Ugh. You
I'm
think
not
he's gonna
sure.
be?
I kind of understand. I'm not. I don't think so. I think they're going to. According to Jerry Jones, is that he's not concerned about signing him and feeling like, because he did make an offer to Cooper, uh, Zach, Dak, and Elliott the other day. As far as I know, there's been no response. I think that Cooper and Dak are going to go ahead and while they negotiate that. Elliott is saying, and he had said this before. This is not new. He had said it before. If I don't have a deal, I'm not coming. And I think Jerry's playing his odds, and he made what I thought was a stupid statement that he doesn't need a championship running back to win a championship. The logic behind that makes no sense. If you don't want to sign the guy, that's one thing. But if you got a champion, why wouldn't you sign him? That's what everybody wants. You want your whole team together on the field trying to go out and compete. Uh, he's a big disappointment to me, but nevertheless, the latest thing I'm reading is that Zach Elliott's not coming. If he doesn't have a deal, he won't play. He's prepared to sit out the year, and that's going to hurt the Cowboys because on paper they look pretty good. Again, on paper they look good. They're healthy. They fill some holes that they had, but he's a key. You can't go to a gunfight without all your guns. I've
Yeah,
always said that, and that's the case in point here.
yeah. I heard a few of the sports uh, guys talk, and they were talking about how Dallas really looked good this year. They had filled. They said that the offensive line is probably the best it's ever
It's
been.
healthy.
Right?
It's
They're
healthy.
healthy. Your quarterback is playing better, so on and so forth. I
Progressive.
guess
Yep.
Cooper is starting out in full season now.
Full season. Got a full
Right.
season. Got a
Right.
full
And
season.
so
And
they were
they got
saying
some
that.
young receivers.
Right. So they were saying that the Cowboys are looking good. But you know what? I've never asked you this because now that I know that you are a true diehard Dallas fan, how did you feel about when the Eagles clash and Jimmy Johnson departed? How did you see that?
I was disappointed that Jerry Jones took that approach with Jimmy because Jimmy, that's ego in my opinion. I thought he destroyed a great opportunity for the Cowboys to have a strong showing at least another 5 years. Maybe they wouldn't win every year, but boy, they were highly competitive. Jimmy had a great machine in motion. The ego got in the way. Jerry somehow felt that he should be getting credit for the team's success. I mean, I think you get credit for signing the check and putting the right people in place to make the right decisions. But on-field decisions is not his ball of wax. Yet he wanted to poke his nose into it, and I think that has really caused such confusion in in the organization. There's always somebody show they play, who should play, what play should be called. That's not the role of an owner. At least one that I would think has common sense. And I think he ran off a good coach, and it's been a struggle ever since. Just can't seem to right the ship because he wants people who will. Jimmy wouldn't listen to him. Jimmy wanted to coach him. You own the team. Let me coach the team. And he took his comments and suggestions just that, a suggestion. I'll do what I think is best. And he was a great talent evaluator. He turned them Cowboys around, had them rolling, and what I think, where they would have been highly competitive for another 5 years, possibly winning maybe 3 more out of that 5 before they would have been in a transition state. So he's done. I think Jerry's good for the league. He's been good on the competition committee. He's been good on the revenue committee. He bought the Cowboys, bought the stadium. He's done a great job with building that new complex and all of that. And he generates revenue, and he's good helping small markets get revenue. And he has some impact with how the organization is run. In my mind, that's enough. When it comes down to it, if you want to make a suggestion about what happens on the field, I mean, that's really not your ball of wax, in my opinion. That's what you got coaches for. I've always felt that if he felt that way, then he should coach the team. Because he made a statement that he could do what Jimmy Johnson did. That's not true. And Jerry played a little ball back in college, but he can't coach. So I think he's damaged us so much. We've gone through so many coaches and coaching changes and all that because of him. He picked up anybody that want to play. We give 1,000 guys second and third chances. You don't want to pay your 3 top players the money that they're owed, but you go get somebody on the fifth leg of that opportunity and pay them max money. I don't understand it. So I'm struggling with that as a Cowboy fan. Again, here we are. We've waited 4 or 5 years now. Every year they say we look good on paper, and he finds a way to destroy it through bad decisions and that type of thing coming from his end. So Jason Garrett, I think, it really should be an offensive coordinator. He should not be a head coach for the Cowboys. He's had his chance to get him work out, but I love him as an offensive coordinator. He's very creative there, but you want to give him another chance. But if you're going to give him another chance, give him all the weapons to be successful. He's not doing that. And I'm a Cowboy fan. I'm a diehard Cowboy fan.
Right. Oh yeah.
But I'm disappointed. I'm really disappointed because it just what we're doing, what's being done, doesn't make sense.
What I mean, I'm going to switch gears for you, and I'm probably going to come back and ask you something else about Elliott. But I'm going to switch gears for a minute. What the heck? I mean, I know what's going on, but I want your opinion. What the heck the NCAA doing about this agent requirement crap that
Well,
they're trying to control
there's
something that they have no
you're
business
supposed
trying to control?
agents was a requirement that you have a college degree. That has always been in place. I don't think they necessarily enforce that. Most of your agents they have degrees, and that was one of the qualifications they've had for a while. Because I know 3 or 4 agents. Now if you're dealing overseas, that it's slightly different. But coming into like the NBA, NFL, because there's an association, these guys go and get certified every year, and that's one of the requirements. Something happened here with Rich Paul that I don't have a grasp for right now. But it's that whole wagon of opportunity. And who's in the middle of that?
LeBron?
Who's in the middle of that? LeBron James. Wherever he goes, there's confusion. Wherever LeBron shows up now, there's an awful lot of confusion. And something has occurred. Now, I really have been trying to read and I really have not been able to find the basics for that. I read an article not too long ago about about the NCAA's agent certification. NCAA now they're looking at certification for dealing with their athletes coming. There's something that occurred here that I have not been able to find out exactly what it is, but I'm researching. I'm making a few phone calls to find out because he's crossed it. Something happened to cause this type of reaction and for it to be pointed directly at him. I'm aware of some agents in the past who have done some very unethical things with athletes coming out of college, both on the basketball and football side. There's some history there, a few people who've had some problems, but this is kind of this comes out of nowhere, and I'm just curious to know. Now I don't know what they had to do with the investigation that they were having on the schools because you know they sanctioned a couple of schools already. They got more to come, but I'm trying to figure this out, and I'm still reading and researching and trying to. I got a call or two into a couple of people that I think can cut it all for me and get right down to it, and they have not gotten back. Hoping they had gotten back to me by today so that I could share it with tonight. But I'll get it soon. But there's something that just took place there, and but you see what can't. And this young man was doing. I thought what he was doing, a lot of what he was doing was on the up and up. It appeared that way. Seen a couple of interviews. He comes out of nowhere, doing what appeared to be some remarkable work with a group of people. Something went wrong. Don't know what it is yet.
Did you see? I'm going to switch gears on you again. Did you see the player that gave his urine sample, and the urine sample
Yeah,
showed that he was pregnant?
yeah, that's dumb. That's quite common. That is that is a very common occurrence when they do drug testing. A lot of people do that, and I think in his particular, he might have got away with it had the young lady not been pregnant. But other than that, they would because that sample comes through and they run it clean and they go. Sometimes
Right.
they check it, they check, but he picked the wrong person. And the bottom line, I hope she's not pregnant for him because he got a double whammy. That's a dumb. That is so silly. I mean, I just don't. And when I read that, I just laughed. And I couldn't stop laughing, thinking, how dumb could you be to do that? But the sad part about it is that it happens all the time.
Okay.
A lot of kids, you get kids on um, in the penal system that have to go drop every week. Um, Sometimes they're using other people. The only way they stop that though, they catch them random.
Right.
Catch them random, and that's them. But this was just nonsense. I just thought, man. So how you going to explain being pregnant then? So you're going to Guinness Book of Records because you're pregnant? That's so
That's
dumb.
well. On a different note, we talked about Nick Bonicani last week. And
Yeah.
for those who old school like you and I, we saw this guy who was undermanned, who was a great player, had great heart. Did you know that he was suffering from CTE? Did you know that?
There was some comment about that a year or well, a couple of years ago, but no great detail. It wasn't defined. There was kind of like a touch on this. No one actually defined it, so I can honestly say that I was not aware that he had been diagnosed that way.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Also, the FBI. I don't know if you're into trading cards, but the FBI has issued some subpoenas as part of a widening sports trading card fraud investigation. Because there's a lot of people that's into trading cards. I mean, for it's some big money in that. But
Yeah, you see
But
these
over the
trade
years,
shows
there's
in the
always been
mall.
fraud in that though. But I guess it's widening. I don't know.
It's probably more organized now than it has been, which has caught their attention. Because I know when I was growing up, I had boxes and boxes of trading cards, and they all got thrown away because my mom thought I didn't care. Which, and she's probably right. I had got to a point where I didn't know the value of them, and I wasn't that into them anyway.
Yeah,
And she threw them
I
away. So
had
I was
some
like,
too.
yeah, okay, whatever. But I would imagine to get the FBI involved, it's become more organized and it's widespread. And because little small stuff, they don't get too excited about. They're gonna probably watch that guy to get to something bigger, and they probably got a huge network of fraud going on, which has brought them in. It's easily done because again, sometime in the mall, you see all these these memorabilia exposés that come about, and they got some great stuff. I mean, it's a little expensive based on what it is that you're looking for, but they got stuff. I've seen cards on people and stuff I never knew existed. So, yeah, I can
Did
see that.
all right? Did you see the sad story of the Portland basketball player? Did you see that story?
The one that was
Sister,
wife murdered.
no, sister. The sister shot and killed him.
Oh yeah, yeah, right, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. 30.
yeah.
He was 22. She was 30. Not quite sure what that was about, but he was a basketball player at Portland State University,
Yeah,
and
sometimes we forget that tragedy happens all across the spectrum. It doesn't
right.
matter. He had a NBA player. He had a player that was killed. His wife killed him. He was a prominent
Yeah.
basketball NBA player. He got killed by his wife, and it indicted her. Um, the, the, Looking at the other side, not all the doom and gloom. On the other side here, you had the 2 million takes place each year, and there's a team overseas that he had won that thing 4 years in a row that got upset this year and lost to a group of Ohio State players. And they won $2 million on playing
Yeah, yeah,
basketball.
yeah.
It was good basketball too. I don't know if you remember Stan Camardi.
All right.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, Stan had a team in there, a couple of guys from UCF that had played in OCP. There's two guys from OCP and one had played at UCF. They were on that team, and a couple other kids out of the Orlando area got in I think they made it to the final eight, maybe, or maybe even final four. I think it was final eight. They had a good showing in there, but that was a huge upset to see that overseas elite didn't win. Because again, like for the last 4 years, those guys have won $8 million playing
Wow.
basketball.
Yeah.
So, but here they lost out this year. Interesting comment about the USA team. There are several players that have commented on what I thought. This is what I was thinking about. First of all, they're saying it's probably the weakest team that they've ever put together to go out and compete. That's a strong statement, but I mean they are professional ball players. But a lot of guys were pulling out. I was listening to C.J. McCollum said he was pulling out because of it has to do more with health and the stress on the body over the season. And like he was saying, it's time away from his family. That was one of the things. The stress on his body that he had to and legs he had to put into this. Then after finishing that, coming back and getting ready to go through a grueling season. So there's some widespread conversation that's saying a lot of these guys are choosing their health as opposed to go and play in this event, which makes sense. And I do believe the Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant situation has drawn an awful lot of attention to really taking good care of your body and protecting yourself. The NBA is addressing that by looking at cutting down on the number of back-to-back games that they have in that workload situation where they take some nights off to try to get guys ready so they're healthy and ready to go at the end of the playoff season. So I think this is really having an impact there. It'll be interesting. It's still a great opportunity for kids to go and represent our country. Uh, but, but again, they're saying this may be one of the least, a lesser talented groups. It'll be interesting to see how well they compete. But you can't blame the guys for because that NBA is their job. That's how they feed their families. And so it's interesting. I would like to see what the USA organization, how they will address this going forward after this year. Especially if Hope does very well. But let's say, for instance, they don't have a great season. What adjustments will they make?
I was looking at some college football, and I looked at the schedule of Alabama, Clemson, FSU, Florida, and Miami. Oh, by the way, I've never known Florida to play Miami so early in the season. I think that's their first game of the season. Florida's playing Miami. Wow. But I was looking at the schedule, and to me personally, I think out of Clemson, Florida State, Florida, and Alabama, to me, I think Alabama has the easiest schedule out of all of them when I looked at who they're playing.
That's what you say, paper, and that may be the case. But we have to wait till we kick it off and see what happens.
I mean,
Yeah,
they're still playing in the SEC, but
yeah.
but I don't know. I
Everybody's
mean,
gonna have a tough way to go.
right? Yeah.
Florida State would probably be somebody that I'll be watching to see what kind of recovery that they have there. They had a tough year last year. New guy coming into town. He's now had a year to recruit. He's now had these guys coming in on his program. Hopefully they'll see what would happen with Miami. They had a setback. How well will they come back? University of Florida, they seem to be rolling on a high note. Then of course you got Clemson and Alabama, who seem to always roll on a high note. I've heard some very strong statements coming out of Alabama too that they could be a real powerhouse this year, but you can't count Clemson out. I think that's what makes college football, in my opinion, so interesting. You have your favorites, but they got to win their way through. There's still it's very competitive out there, and it makes for good ball, in my opinion. I enjoy watching it. I'm an NFL fan because I like the NFL game to an extent, but the college game, basketball and football, is so much more exciting. You really get caught up in the wave of the excitement of the schools and the student bodies and stuff like that. I love it. I really, and I've been to a couple of college games, and I get excited just being there. Sometimes I went to a game one time. I didn't even know anything about either one of the schools, and I got all excited just the feeling in the arena, in the stadium, and how the kids react. I mean, man, it's fantastic.
Okay. UConn head coach Randy Edsall says college athletes are going to get paid. It's going to happen at some point in time.
I would agree with him that it will. I think that the situation, they've got an awful lot to work out to make that thing palatable for everybody. But I agree it is going to happen. When? That's going to be the challenge. But I do agree it's going to happen. I've long since said that, but I don't think it's going to happen. It wasn't an easy fix. And it's still probably going to take a little bit. They're still going to probably have some inequities, but I think it's coming to that.
Yeah. Do you know who
I
Williams?
think they should. I think they should pay them.
Do you know
So,
who William? I think it's Strimpel is.
name does not ring a bell.
He got he was at Michigan, which he got a year in prison. I think he was covering
For
up when the guy was dealing with the Olympics.
the doctor.
Yeah. So they gave him a year in
There's
prison.
there's still some fallout from there. There's some people, and they're still investigating that too. That has not gone away because that could very easily reoccur and rear its head again. So I'm really glad to see that they're giving attention to that. because a lot of kids were harmed in that.
Looks like the Pro Bowl, well, not, but the Pro Bowl is coming back to Orlando for its fourth year. Hopefully, it
I
won't be
think that's a
rained out again.
Yeah, but I really think that's good. Obviously, that's good for the city, good for the area, the economy. Uh, it gives this market a chance to see some of these top athletes come into town. The city gets to, and the city can absorb that now. I think that's great. I think that's good for Orlando. That's one of the things I know they want to be very competitive in bringing top sporting events or top events, period, to the city. And they can accommodate it now. They got enough hotel rooms. They got some great venues that they can host these things in. So I was really excited. And I said, boy, that's a shame. As soon as I leave, now they bring the boy, it comes to Orlando because I would have loved to have been there.
All right.
For that. And they've had the All Star game there a couple of times, which I think that's going to be a little bit of while before it comes back. But it will eventually get back to Orlando as well.
How far are you from Atlanta?
3.5,
3.5.
yeah,
Well,
maybe three,
I
maybe three.
did ask Ken if they were coming your way. He said they're going to Atlanta. So,
I will be in Atlanta.
okay.
If,
I
if,
think
if, if,
it's like the first week in September or something like that. Saturday. It's
yeah, I
coming
can't
up.
get me a couple of tickets. I
Okay.
will be there.
I told
So
him that I was gonna call you and let you know, but he said, yeah, they going to Atlanta this year.
tell them I want to be with the band. I want to be with
Okay.
the band.
All right. Okay. All right. Looks
I like
like
hanging out.
Tiger is dealing with some back stiffness. Have you heard anything about Tiger and his back?
Yeah, um, you know, Tiger's a trooper, man. I really thought that win he had was going to propel him, but I think he put an awful lot into that. But Tiger is aging, and he's had a whole lot of surgeries. Tiger's in pretty decent shape, but I just think that's one of those situations that's going to plague him from now on, and he may be winding down his career. I think he wants to win a couple more tournaments. Maybe I think that's what he'd like to do. I don't know physically. Hopefully, physically he'll be able to do that. But I have long since believed when they start working on your back, that's just not a good thing.
All right.
It doesn't seem very many people heal well from back surgeries. From minor ones to major ones, they always seem to have some kind of an issue with that back. Uh, and I don't have any statistics, and it's just my observation. But that's always the way I felt. That's why I've always said, unless it's got to be absolutely necessary, if I let him cut on my back.
Back to football. Golden Tate battling a suspension over some fertility drugs. You know anything about that?
Yeah, see, a lot of those guys are taking. One of the things that happens to some of them, and I'm not saying that's his case, is that they're taking some of these supplements, if you will, and they're not on the list. They haven't been banned. Then all of a sudden they're banned, but it's already in his system. And when he gets tested, he gets popped. Uh, but you would think that these guys would really kind of pay attention to that because they know that they're being tested. I'm amazed that this happens to them. A lot of time I'm hearing that, well, he wasn't on the list not to take it, and I didn't know, so it wasn't on there. It may be some truth to that, but golly, come on, fellas. I mean, you're taking this stuff, and you should know whether or not it's on the restricted list or not.
Yeah, it's amazing that you're on that level, and this is your livelihood.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you're thinking like you in junior high school. So I don't know.
exactly. And your doctor's prescribing uh, some of this stuff for your injuries. Say, come on, between you and the doctor, one of y'all should have enough intelligence to say, let me check the list of illegal drugs or substances that I cannot take and find an alternative. Because I'm sure there's an alternative. There's to that. But when they get popped like that, it's like, come on, man. I mean, I feel sorry for you, but golly.
We was talking about Josh Gordon earlier, but did you see in the news? And we were talking about the recovery symposium that was on the Journey 2020 this past Monday. But did you see where Dwight Gooden was arrested the second time in 6 weeks? The first arrest was for cocaine possession, and the second arrest was charged with driving under the influence. It's been, it, we talk about that, and we talk about whatever those triggers are. We talk about whatever that addiction is, and Dwight been around now for a while, and it's kind of tough to say whatever
Addiction
that
stuff, man.
is that's in his life that he hasn't been able to kick that thing. So I mean, we talked about it earlier. And a lot of people out
We
there.
talk about
I mean, the younger people who don't know who Dwight Gooden is. I mean, Dwight Gooden. He was a great baseball pitcher, and he had some drugs issues back then, and looks like he's still dealing with the addiction, which we were earlier talking about when it comes to George Gordon and so on and so forth.
a lot of these kids may not know him, but they know somebody like him.
Right.
They could have some, we hear about him only because he's a celebrity, if you will. He's, a professional athlete. And all we're hearing is that he's abusing drugs. But what we aren't hearing, and probably we never will know because no one, that's not the way to report the news, is what's triggering this, what's driving him, why is he doing that? Something that's pushing him that way. It's a crutch. It's an easy fix. It's easier to deal with that than probably to face whatever he's trying not to face. And then it's overpowering, man. I'm telling you, if you and the people you talk to, they're putting on this, they can talk. I'm sure they can speak to that. It's a huge situation. It's out of control. When you're consumed with that, it consumes you. You know you're making a bad decision. You know it's not what you're supposed to do, but you can't help yourself. You're out of control, and it's sad in some cases because you're watching people who are trying to fight it, and they can't. They just can't fight it. It's too big, and it's just consumes their thought process, consumes their body. Their body's craving their mind. It confuses them. I mean, it's ugly. It's really, really ugly. A lot of times people confuse with mental health issues. It major mental health, but we're talking about an addiction that's being driven by a social situation. So I really, my heart goes out to him, and the struggle is a real struggle for him, and this is just bad for him. It's bad because he was trying to be clean. In fact, I think he was clean for a while.
Right.
And the fact that he's relapsed now is not a good sign.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't heard of anything dealing with Dwight Gooden in a very long time, and when you see the name and you see the story, you be like, oh, he's still dealing with it, and it's like,
Yeah,
wow.
it is and it's going to be an ongoing situation for him. Hopefully, he can bounce back and get his feet back up under him. But the sad thing, Charles, it may not happen.
Right.
I hope it does. I'm pulling for him, but
Yeah.
Dwight's up in age. God knows what bridges he's burnt, so he may not have a support system anymore. But people lose heart in it. Once you cross that line 2 or 3 times, then people get their opinion, and sometimes they're correct, but you just don't want to do any better. Sometimes it's not that they don't want to; they just can't.
Last year, I had a layover in Atlanta, and I looked up, and about 20 feet away from me, and I started to go up to him and say something, but I didn't. But I saw Daryl Strawberry, and when I saw him, what made me want to go up and say something to him, because he looked good. He looked real good. He looked healthy, and I just wanted to go up to him, and I started to go up to him and say, "Man, I'm a big fan. God bless you." And that's all I wanted to say to him. But
Yeah.
when I saw him, he looked good. Because
Strawberries had a
they were both at the same time going through that, the same thing. You know.
Just goes to show you uh, the difference in people and circumstances and support. Don't know their history, don't know their stories, so I can't really speak to that. But the fact that one survived and the other is real time.
Right.
That's just real time. That's how life treats you. And I really, 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 really uh, thought Strawberry, man, I didn't think he was gonna make it back, but he has resurfaced and has done a pretty decent job of getting back and getting his feet back up under him. It's that's the first battle. Second battle is you got to stay there.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Before we
That's the
get out.
challenge all about.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, did you see that the XFL was in the news about to invite college players, NFL, and some ex players, I guess, to come and try out for the XFL?
I saw a little bit of that. I'm interested to see how that's going to hold out. There's some positive to that. It's kind of like, you know, in basketball they have all these other venues, and baseball they have the minor leagues and grapefruit league, baseball and all of that. And then football, basketball, you got your overseas. So football has tried to do something in that avenue too to help that player develop or give him that opportunity to gain experience. I'd be interested to see how much support they get from the NFL and
Yeah.
college programs and trying to keep it stable because they've had a couple of these before
Right.
and they just
Yeah.
didn't pan out.
Yeah. They said that. I think what I saw was that they're going to invite for each team. They're going to invite maybe about 60 to 70 players to come and try out. So
Yeah.
yeah.
See, one of the things that they're going to run into or have run into is when does their season take place? You got some low level NFL players that might want to try to play both, but that's wear and tear on the body. Something that you probably more people are thinking about now. And then the last little league tried to fill gap basketball in the summer, trying to fill that gap. They just ran out of money. It was so expensive to do that. And there's one Steve Spurrier was on. Uh, I, I I think they folded or they were about to fold because it's expensive taking that many people and traveling across the countries, and
Right.
it gets to be very expensive. You got to have some deep pockets.
Right. Yeah. I've always said that the summer football league would work if they were not so greedy, if they would play games like, let's just say, if there was a team in Florida or a state like Florida, they need to make sure that all of their games does not start until around 8 o'clock in the evening, nothing earlier than that in the summer. And if they do have teams that's like in Texas or Arizona, they should be playing in a dome, and stop trying to compete with the NFL because the summertime it is so slow. But I think it'll work if they just stop being so greedy, just use some plain common sense. But somehow or another, greed seems to overtake everything when it comes to just plain common sense. I don't know.
Well, it's not always greed; it's availability. Because a lot of these dome stadiums, other stadiums, they have other events that are going on. There are concerts and stuff, and they pack. That's a serious money maker. It's depending upon the artist that comes through there. So that venue is not available. Uh, so in order for that to happen, it's got to be everybody's got to come sit at the table, and it's got to be worth their while. So if I'm giving up $100 million opportunity over a weekend to bring you in at something significantly less than that, why do I want to do that? Because I still got bills to pay. I still got to. It's still a
Well,
business,
yeah,
but you have.
but like for an example here in Orlando, there's very seldom anything going on at what I still call the Citrus Bowl. At
Yeah,
8 o'clock.
but
I
they're
mean,
trying
at eight
their
o'clock at
best though.
night. I mean, at eight
Yeah, but
o'clock at night.
well, but you're competing now. You're competing with other things at 8 o'clock at night, and that's so. Where would that crowd go now? If you got, in this city, in some cities where that that sport is that strong, you may have a better chance because one of the things they're trying to do, they're trying not to compete. So like in Orlando, you don't want to compete with Disney. People here come in the city to go out to Disney. You got that Disney activity going on. So you want to try to roll it up early. The second thing you got to consider in Orlando, uh, uh, and I'm sure in other cities, traffic. Traffic, and I understand it's worse now. And I
Oh,
was just there, and a little bit that I saw, it was like, oh
oh
my
no.
God, you know.
Orlando
So,
has changed forever. You will never
oh
just
yeah.
get in your car and just go and like, no, those days are gone, Vince. You can
Well,
forget
it had
that.
to change. I mean,
It's
they
gone.
wanted to grow, they wanted to be a big city, and that's the problem they have in big. One of the problems I noticed here in Nashville, which I love Nashville, growing and growing. Orlando, in my mind, Orlando and Nashville, it's almost like they're competing with each other. They're growing up, and out. Orlando, I don't know if it's quite as bad yet, but that Nashville parking is a premium, man. They got parking in the garage. You can't park on the street because there's no parking spaces there. People get them early. It costs you a fortune to park. Um, and one of the reasons I go downtown. I try to pick my times that I go because I enjoy downtown, but it's just so hard to park. And big cities are like that.
All right.
And putting in structures, which is convenient, but it costs so much to park. One time I took the bus downtown just so I could, get around and move around and get back on the bus and go back to my car. That worked out pretty good, but it wasn't like having my car where I could drive. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think Orlando is getting that way. That's why that rail system, if they could ever make sure they work that out. I'm excited about that rail system from Orlando to Miami. I really
All right.
hope that. I understand that's coming along pretty good too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
that's going to be exciting. My next visit, hopefully that's available. I would love to take that ride, go see my sister.
yeah, you can take Wally the raccoon with you. Um,
I think I may drop Wally off at the zoo until I get back.
my aunt would have loved to have met Wally. Wally wouldn't have been around long if my aunt had
Yeah,
been around.
at least
Trust
with
me on
me,
that.
he got a
Wally
second
would have
chance.
been served up on Sunday with a sweet potatoes in his mouth on
Yeah,
the table.
yes, yes. Wally better learn to appreciate me because of me, he gets to see another day.
Yeah. Uh, Before we get out of here real quick, I saw something on ESPN. Do you like pizza? Do you eat pizza?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. It was called aerobic pizza trial, and I was like, what? And so what it is that they take, you know how they do the dough, right?
Hmm.
So what they were doing was they are being judged on their tricks and stuff. So they
Okay.
they're taking the dough and they got two of them in each hand and they throwing it up and spinning and throwing it behind the back and lifting up the leg and da da da. And I was like, okay, but
You
where's the
know,
pizza? Where's the pizza?
uh, there's a cup I've been to. I've seen. I've only been to one, and I was actually in Italy when that took place. But I've seen a couple of those guys do that. It is
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. I mean,
yeah,
I'm
yeah. I
looking
mean, what I saw was like,
at
wow,
that dough together.
okay. I didn't even know you can
You
do
know,
that with dough.
yeah. And I watched the guy flip that stuff around, man. And I mean, I'm like, this is absolute. And then later on, we ate that. I mean, I'm like, this is you do that, uh, and I was just blown away by that. He asked me. He was a friend of a friend
Right.
that I was with, and he asked me if I wanted to try it. I said, "Nah, there's I could get that door up in the air like that and keep it going." I just know that's not gonna work for me. And
Yeah,
he said, "All
and, and I'm looking, and over on the side they got like five judges, Vince. They pen the paper, and they sitting down writing, they like, okay, I guess that was a 9.1, that was a 8 point,
right, there's an
whatever that
art to
is.
well, there's an art to that. I mean, we are a society of specialization. There's some people that can do some real unusual things, and look at skateboarding. I mean, skateboarding. What is skateboarding?
Right.
Uh, you don't talk about skateboarding, right? No, it's far more complicated than that. There are people who are expert at that can judge how well you get on a skateboard. That's amazing to me. That's why sports is more than just a game. It's a lot more than just a game.
Right. Definitely. 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 Well, the school start next week. Well, actually, school starts Friday, right? School
For
school
us,
starts
it
Friday.
starts Friday. Yeah, we have a training tomorrow. Then we go a half a day Friday for the students, and that's our way of getting them orientated, picking up books, doing whatever you need to do to get ready. Because on Monday we go in full swing on Monday. It's
Okay.
it's it's school on Monday, so we actually kicking it off tomorrow with students on Friday. We get a couple of days off to get ready, and then here we go. And the good thing about that is football. We got football Friday night. We got a scrimmage game, and then the following weekend, a couple of weekends after that, the season gets started. So when that starts, that means basketball is right around the corner.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, enjoy. It's like the funny thing is, when Friday comes, it's like the summer was never here. It started all over
Yeah,
again.
by 10 o'clock, I'll be looking for next summer.
Right.
But by 10 o'clock that day, I'll be like, oh man,
Yeah.
is it summertime yet?
Yeah. And then the funny thing is that when you were a kid, because you know a minute is always a minute, an hour is always an hour. Somehow another summer seemed to last longer when you were younger, and now when you're older,
Yeah,
it just doesn't last long enough.
that's the truth. I'm wishing for another couple of weeks.
Yeah. But starting next week, and again, I said it before, coming up will be the class of 2020. Can you believe it? Wow. The class of 2020. Wow.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it is.
It's
It
absolutely
is.
amazing.
All right. Well, this is the original Coach Carter. I am Charles Morris, and we come to you every Wednesday right here at www.youthcentralsports. We're live on Facebook, Twitter, and Periscope on YouTube. Make sure that you hit the like button right there on Facebook. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We appreciate that. And gosh, I mean, Vince, I forgot to put up your Twitter, man. Let me see if I can find your Twitter real so people can check out your Twitter
Yeah,
yeah, because you know you put something up every
every day,
morning.
every
Oh,
morning
oh,
or
oh, oh. Yep, every morning you put something up so people can follow you on Twitter as well. You know, for questions or comments or concerns, you can always email us. And even so, um, you can always hit us up with a text. And I saw an old friend who just tuned in, who I haven't seen in years, man. We used to work together back in the day. So, Mr. Kirby, uh, I found you on Facebook, brother. JK in the house. How you doing, man? You left the area, but I found you. But we come to you right here every Wednesday, Youth Central Sports, where sports is more than just a game. Well, Vince, thank you for your knowledge.
always a pleasure.
You know, thank you for informing us about, you know, addictions and those triggers. And people don't know, but you've worked in that field for a very, 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 very long time. And you've seen a lot of things. And
Yeah,
appreciate your knowledge, brother.
my pleasure. My
All
pleasure. It's
right,
all
tell.
about passing forward.
All right, you tell your brother he got to come on the show so we can
Yeah,
have
we're
some
working
real
on that.
talk, some real talk.
Yeah, yeah. That's going to be soon.
All right, and congratulations to your son. 22 years he's coming up. He signed up with the Hawks. He'll be playing for his 22nd season. Blessings to him and his family and everybody.
Amen. Amen.
All right, with that being
Thank you.
said,
Appreciate that.
all right, with that being said, the original Coach Carter, Charles Morris, enjoy the rest of your week. You be blessed.
Be blessed.